Welcome to Ghost Education 101, where curiosity meets experience and the doors to the entire paranormal landscape are finally open. Hosted by Dr. Heather Leigh and Dr. Tiffany Frazier, this series is built for everyone who wants to understand the unexplained the right way. Whether you're just stepping into the unknown or you've been investigating for years, this is the place where you can sharpen your approach, deepen your understanding, and cut through the misconceptions that have overrun this field for far too long. Each episode walks you through the full spectrum of paranormal activity. Classic hauntings, intelligent spirits, cryptids, elemental beings, poltergeist phenomena, and the modern challenges investigators face today. We break it all down. The science, the method, and the mystery, without dumbing it down and without drifting into theatrics. Grounded in research, history, and real-world investigation, Ghost Education 101 is your classroom, your laboratory, and your gateway into the most compelling unexplained experiences on record. Learn, question, discover. Welcome to Ghost Education 101. Now, here are your hosts, Dr. Heather Leigh and Dr. Tiffany Frazier.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Hey, Tiffany, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I am good. Glad to be back. Bummed we missed last week, but yeah. Joe claims I didn't tell him, but I told him months ago. But, we'll work that out with him later on. So we are.
All right. Well, I'm going to message him. I didn't know that. I'll be messaging him.
Yeah. So he told me to do it myself for the presentation, but it's just not the same.
There's no way.
We've actually done that presentation at events before. And it's not the same without both of our energies going back and forth on that one. So those of you who are wondering what happened last week, our Ouija or not Ouija presentation has been postponed. We will be bringing that back as soon as Joe. I know he's traveling right now for a couple conventions, but he will be back, and I'll get that scheduled with him. Also, I don't know if you saw, but Reverend Sean Whittington, one of our past regular guests on Ghost Education 101, just announced that his wife is battling cancer.
Oh, no.
So they do have a GoFundMe page to help her out. I am going to share that on our page, and please keep them in your prayers and thoughts. Yeah. And I will be reaching out to him just to let him know that we're all thinking about him. Yeah. And then one last thing before I bring on our special guest. I've been looking forward to having him on Ghost Ed. It's been a couple of years in the making that I've been trying to get him on. But I do want to say this year, 2026, is kind of a bumpy ride for all of us, but be prepared. We are still working behind the scenes, and 2027 is going to be absolutely amazing. And I am sorry, I have I have our very own laugh track in the hallway here laughing while we're talking. So if you hear that laugh and it's not anything happening in the show, they're all having fun out there. So
that's awesome.
Those laughs always come at the most inopportune time.
Me too.
So anyway, I'm going to bring our special guest on. Welcome to the show, Jay. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And thank you, everyone, in the comments for commenting and joining us. If you have any questions for us or our special guest, please do make sure that you put them there. So one thing I want to start off with is, Jay, take a moment to introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are. I know you have several podcasts and you are a busy person, have a long list of things to do. But for someone who's never met you before and doesn't know who you are, how would you explain and describe yourself?
Well, my name is Jay Hill, and I am a podcaster. I'm also a psychic medium as well as a paranormal investigator and researcher. I am also working on documentaries involving the paranormal as well as history, and that is one of the projects that I'm working on. I've experienced basically. I always tell people that I was never really, not that I was into the paranormal, but the paranormal was always into me, and basically throughout my years, even my younger years, I had so many different experiences that I couldn't explain, but I knew that there was something else about me that I was running from. So, which I made a valiant effort to run away from my gifts until probably 2012, 2013, when I had a stroke. And it kind of put everything in perspective, and no more running, and my gifts kind of opened up. And then, so basically here I am.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. I know you have a lot of experience, and actually, I completely forgot that you do also have psychic abilities. Do you mind? We had a panel discussion a couple weeks ago about that. Do you mind? I guess I'm at a loss for words. I'm trying to think of not so much share how you realized that you had them, but I guess that's what I'm trying to say. How did you realize that you had these abilities?
Let's see. That heat was blowing on me pretty good. I've always known since I saw my first full body apparition when I was 16, in a house that I lived in, and I wasn't scared. I was more annoyed that she woke me up because I was sleeping, and I had some weird dreams after that. I was contacted by my grandfather when my father was sick. And so after, situations like that, and realizing when I was growing up that there would just be weird things that would happen. And I was always into the kind of the paranormal, but back then you got to understand, I'm old now. I mean, I'm going to be pushing 55 in a couple months. So back in the 80s, I didn't really talk to anybody about it. I didn't really discuss. Well, we didn't discuss. Even in school, we were. I loved ghost stories, and I loved. That was kind of a thing that even in high school or even grade school, we talked about how spooky stories, or whatever. You go over to a friend's house to stay the night, and you'd have ghost stories, whatever. I lived it, and I experiences, and my friends that when I was in high school stayed at the house that had spirits there. They didn't want to be there. They didn't want to come visit me, which was fine. But growing up, like I said, I was always into it. I never really was afraid of it, so to speak. It was more of an acceptance thing. Didn't happen too much. I mean, I was a kid. I was living my life. I was, just after puberty, and I was just things kind of calmed down, and I just was, doing my own thing. And then when I got into my 20s, I started my gifts. Actually, my mediumship gifts would start coming through, and I would kind of push them away because I was also drinking alcohol and using and trying to drown out whatever it was that I couldn't understand. And I wasn't really interested. I was more enveloped in myself, and I didn't realize until later that after I was trying to get off of using and drinking alcohol or whatever, I had accepted Christ March 14th, 1994. And that evening, I mean, I felt completely different. I knew the truth, and it was really weird. And after that moment and that evening, I was physically attacked. And the entity, now I'm just going to say it was the darkness. I'm not going to name names, labels, but I remember this thing sitting on my chest, yelling at me in a groveling voice saying, "How could you do this to me? I own you." And I realized at that moment that what I was doing beforehand was setting me up for something far more worse until I had accepted Christ and changed my life. And, I got thrown off the bed. I don't remember much because I was in such a panic and fear a fearful mode that made me want to reach out to my mother. I mean, that's how scared I was. And so, in that kind of traumatic unfolding, I basically had passed out. I woke up on the floor. I woke up not knowing if it was real, if this all happened. I don't, The funny thing is I was living with a girl at the time. She was my girlfriend at that time. And we weren't getting along, so we were sleeping in different bedrooms in this apartment. Well, this building was an old building, an old house. And I had already had experiences even after that of spirits with doors opening and shadow figures and visions that I would get of horrific things, natures of things that happened in the house. And so, excuse me, after that, I mean, I've got a podcast that it's called Paranormal Memoirs, and I speak about these events. And it's under my Studio 6 Media page on our channel on YouTube. And it's also out in wherever you get the audio podcast. It's a really good story. It talks about moments that I had in that house and what happened and what led me to ultimately leave, break up with this girl finally, and just leave. So I transcended into things that, I knew that the darkness was still after me and still wanted me, and not realizing who I was until later of why the darkness wanted me. Once I realized who I was and how I help people and how I can engage in the spirit world and whatnot, and to help spirits cross over or whatever. I mean, that was something that made sense to me later on of why that darkness really wanted to control me and to keep me away from, that side of it. So they were trying to basically snuff my light of myself. And I still deal with that. Not as much, but I still deal with that. Mm-hmm. I run into regular people and I can get their frequency and know right away their intentions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you ever felt like you had to hide that side of you?
What's that? One more time? You broke up.
Have you ever felt like you've had to hide that side of you, your psychic ability?
Oh, yeah. I went through the whole coming out of the proverbial closet, so to speak. Certain people that I know don't believe in any of this, and they just think it's negative devil's work type things.
Right.
I dealt with that. I dealt with humility. There was one moment that I'll tell you this short story. There was a moment where the place where I used to do my podcast was a haunted hotel. It's not too 5 minutes from my house. I knew the owners really well, and I was friends with them. And it was probably close to a Halloween weekend or something like that. There was a group of ladies. There was 4 of them. And they were asking the owners if there was somebody that could, tell them ghost stories, or to entertain them, basically, kind of like a medium, so to speak. And I agreed. At that time, I was still charging for my gifts and what I was doing and helping people and this and that, which I currently do not do anymore. I believe that me helping people should be a gesture of love and support instead of a financial means. And that's just my personal belief.
Right.
Because I struggled with it for a while, that, I was charging people. I just didn't feel right to do that. You know what I mean? So I just, but before that, I mean, these ladies, I met them at the hotel. And, I sat there, and all these girls looked familiar, and I don't even know how to describe that. But it was almost like there was a familiarity there somewhere. There was one woman that was sitting there that I had this, I was drawn to this lady, and I was, telling some ghost stories, but I was also getting mediumship readings. Like some guy that she knew was coming through to me, and I was kind of directing my speech with her, and she wanted to know more, and I was getting more. She wasn't telling me anything. It was almost like she was testing me. She wasn't giving me anything, which is fine. And I kind of muddled my way through certain things, but I basically would get the gist of it, and then I would say, okay, that makes sense, and this and that. The whole time, there was the other two girls that were sitting at the end of across from each other, were like when you're in high school and you got a friend that's across the room, and you look at that person, you start laughing, and that's what it was, and it was really kind of disheartening. I just played it off, but it was getting louder and getting worse, and the other lady was chiming in and this and that. The lady I was talking about, and her friend who had committed suicide, she got really mad at all. She stood up and totally defended me and whatnot, but the laughter did not stop. So after I was there for about an hour or 2 hours or whatever it was, and I did this, and the lady that I was basically talking about, her friend, and I walked up and she was telling me about, she used to read palms and she used to do this stuff, and they were kind of laughing at her and everything. And I said, I walked up to her after that was all over, and I said, don't let anybody tell you can't do anything spiritually. You said you have a gift that you can and do this. She grabbed my hand to shake my hand. She grabbed so hard she squeezed my hand, like it was like, thank you so much. And it was intense, but it was almost like a connection that I was like, this person knows me somehow, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And it was a test. I knew it was a spiritual test of some sort, because a few years later, I saw 4 girls that were at another event that I was doing. I was doing a speaking event, and these girls, they looked similar but different, but they had all the same energies that I had remembered from last time. And I said, don't I know you from somewhere? And they said, oh, no. And I'm like, okay. So different things in the spiritual world. I've ran into some different things like that, but I've also had something from the darkness walk up to me, a woman in a red dress and a male coming and trying to invade my space, like talk really close to me. I had to back up, and I could sense their intentions and the negativity. And I was like, and the question he asked me, he said, how do you know for sure that you don't get your answers from the devil? And I was like, I said, that's a great question. I said, I just know that I don't. And he says, and then they were trying to get me to go with him and her. And I said, no, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah.
So there are spiritual entities out there in human form that I do believe that try to, especially people whose gifts are trying to derail. You know what I mean? I ran into that several times. So it's also scary. I mean, it's not something that I set out to do where, I was like, I'm going to be a medium. I'm going to do this. That's not how it happened. You know what I mean? It was something that it goes against everything that I was raised in a religious, not a really religious, but the religion that I followed as Lutheran didn't quite follow mediumship.
Right.
And I wasn't raised that way, And so, you know, it was just like, people always say, why do you always run into the, you know, people run out of haunted places or whatnot. It's almost like you run into them. I'm like, oh, that's kind of what I do.
Yeah.
You know, there's some places I won't go. I mean, I know I've ran into some people. I've ran into people that the darkness has tried to trick me several times, but I see through it.
Uh-huh.
So.
And one quick question that we do have in our comments that I'm actually kind of curious about, because I know how there's talk of EMF theories increasing paranormal activity. But one of our viewers wants to know, does EMF increase psychic experiences?
Yes and no. People who are highly sensitive and gifted people already have kind of what that built EMF type in them, you know what I mean? Or they're exercising their gifts, and that is a frequency. It's a different type of frequency. It can enhance it. It can also, too much EMF can also just like affect anybody, you know, hallucinations, sickness, headaches, whatever, you know what I mean? I mean, being gifted, I mean, I'm not immune to that, you know what I mean? But like when somebody comes out and uses like a EMF pump or something like that in a location, I would be able to sense that. Does it help my gifts? Not really. I'm on a different frequency, I think. I mean, I'm on a different wavelength. I don't really, I've never really paid attention to that. You know what I mean? It's always been its own entity, you know,
Right.
but it may be different for other people. I'm not sure, because I've always said this too, is that being gifted, there are no same gifted person in this world. We are all, number one, individual. Number one, our frequencies don't resonate at the same level. They can be similar, but it's almost like their own DNA code. You have your own DNA code. Same thing goes with your frequency and with your spiritual side. We are not the same. You know,
Right.
we may be similar or experience certain things that are similar, but we are not the same.
Is that
Just
why
like
you
mediums.
can put two? I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is that why you can have two mediums at the same location, and they will each get completely different information?
Right, because of the fact that their frequency is picking up something else, a different frequency, or something different, and they also could be picking up something similar or the same thing. It just depends if they're sharing that frequency together.
Right.
Most mediums don't share their frequency. They're usually trying to find out the information on their own, because of the fact that it's kind of like when you have two mediums in a room. It's great to have validation, and it's great to have similar things happen, but a lot of people that I've talked to over the years are curious, how does that work? What if you get two different answers? And it's like, okay, they may be two different answers, but that doesn't mean they're both the wrong answer.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, you kind of have to think outside the box in that. Single-minded people, one-track minded people think there's a beginning and an end, and it's black and white, and it's not that. It's not that at all.
Yeah.
It's more complex than that. So I look at it as, and like I've said this before, mediums know mediums. Another medium comes up to me and says, "Hey, you're gifted," and you'd like, okay, and they're like, "What do you mean?" And then I will explain to them, and they're like, "Oh, that explains this, or that explains that." It's more like when you're at a sports event and you're at a football game and you see other people wearing the same jersey that you're wearing. That's exactly the way mediums work. I just, you know what I mean? I don't even, that's the best way to describe it.
A great way to put it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
I'm going to use that one when
Yeah.
when I get that question, because I've gotten that question before from you skeptics or, people who just don't believe. It's like, well, what about the locations where they do investigations and they have 2 mediums and they get different answers? And it's like, well, so what?
Right.
Right. That's what because I don't entertain that kind of mentality. I just won't go there. So, and that's what I said to them. I just like, so what?
Yeah. And it's no different than
information.
Yeah, it's no different than like 2 recorders sitting next to each other. One picks it up, one doesn't.
Right. That's the best way to describe that too. Yeah. Oh yeah.
For sure. Yeah. So we have another question in the comment letter that is, I think, a fantastic question.
Yes. Was that the deathbed one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you discuss deathbed visions? That's one we haven't got. That's a question.
Okay.
That's the first time.
Yeah.
It depends on the person, and it depends on the condition.
Yeah.
A percentage of them can just be hallucinating, delusional from whatever is the ailment, or whatever medicine they're on can affect, you know what I mean? Because their body is shutting down, so to speak. So when your body's shutting down, and I'm not a doctor, don't get me wrong, but when you're on the throes of death in that sense, you're going to die, and you're on your deathbed or whatever, your body's in a panic. Okay, there are so many different endorphins, so many different things that are going through your body. Is either trying to still keep you alive, because there's some people, like you've heard in deathbed stories, where they say they waited for their loved one to show up. You know what I mean? They had to wait 5 hours for them to drive from Philadelphia, or whatever. That, and having that in that mentality is part of that drive that your body is saying, okay, we need to still be here for this person. I mean, it doesn't always happen that way, but there's a small percentage that I don't know the percentage, but I know that there's a small percentage that does happen. People hang on for their loved ones or whoever it is. Deathbed visions are remotely pretty accurate. It's kind of like a preparation for them when they're that close. It doesn't happen that way to everybody. Like I said, everybody's different. Everybody's life path is completely different from anybody else's. Excuse me. Similar to different experiences that they have in dying may be similar, but when it comes to having loved ones or having somebody greet them or deathbed visions or something like that, that happens more times than people like to realize or even believe. And it's not a bad thing. I can't say that it's not a good thing, because it is, but depends on who you have come and visit you. You know what I mean? I mean, I've heard some horror stories. Now, those are kind of scary, but that also could be, we would like to think on the lighter side of the, person on their deathbed, as in they're actually seeing something positive. That hasn't always been the case, and it's been scary, and it's been sad. So
I've heard a couple stories like that too. Like, why?
And it's like talking about the ugly side of it. You know what I mean? But it happens, and these people experience it. Nurses experience it. They see it.
Doctors have even started coming forward and saying that they've experienced things too. Yeah.
And me spending a lot of time in the hospital with my health in the last 10 years, I don't like hospitals.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does.
I mean, being who I am and experiencing what I've experienced, there's been times where I was in, after my surgery, I actually had half of my pancreas removed. So I was in the hospital, and I knew I wasn't alone in my room. There were people that had died in there. There was a few different entities that would come in and out of that. And it was just, I got a name once, and I think I had a spirit box somewhere in my bag or something, a small one. I think I used it, and I got the name for it and this and that. But I also it was more of a compassionate how are you doing type aspects, you know?
Right.
Sorry that you're in this bed. Sorry you're sick. Sorry you're going through, you know what I mean? So I didn't feel a negative presence.
Mm-hmm.
I did feel, and I will say this to the day I die, I felt every time that I have been in the hospital with a major health issue, Christ has always been there, right there next to me. I can just, I know his signature, that frequency. I could feel, when I feel that, I'm like, oh, wow, it's a great feeling. I may not be able to see him, but I could see when he's close, or I could feel when he's close.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when I had my stroke and I was in the hospital, before that, they were trying to discern if I had a stroke because the guy was going to come in and tell me that. This little voice inside my head, next to my ears, say, told my wife, tell your wife that this happened for a reason and everything's going to be fine. And it was like, okay. And it was audible. I heard it. At first I thought it was my wife, but no, it was a male voice. And I was looking around and okay. And then I understood it. I leaned over and I whispered it to her, and she looked at me like I was high. And she was like, he come in and told me what happened, you know, like he, after the x-rays and the MRIs and all that stuff. And she looked at me again, like with that same look. And it's like, everything's going to be fine. And it was, you know, it had to happen that way. You know, I was still drinking. I was still on the verge of basically killing myself because I was drinking so much and I was not taking care of myself. And when I reached out and asked for help, that's what happened. Yeah. When I woke up, I had a stroke. I didn't remember what alcohol tasted like. I had no desire to drink. I didn't, all of that stuff. And then I got a message months later when I was laying in bed, and I heard this voice say, those feelings of your past, of drinking, and those are all going to come back. They had to be gone, but now they got to come back, and you're going to have to deal with it. 6 months came back, and all of a sudden I wanted to drink. All of a sudden I knew what alcohol tasted like. All of a sudden I was like, okay. And that was at that crossroads of which way do I go? Well, as you can tell, I haven't drank since 2013. So,
yeah.
So yeah.
So and your stories just reminded me of how much I agree. I hate hospitals. I've had so many strange encounters there. One that comes to mind is I was admitted, I think I was there for 5 days. And the person who was sharing the room with me, she was actually on hospice and had fallen at home and broke her hip. So they had brought her into the hospital. And I got no sleep those 5 days because she would be up all night, giddy, like almost like a slumber party, laughing, having fun, talking. And the nurse kept coming in telling her, shh, be quiet, you have a roommate. And I was like, no, it's okay, because I could see and hear the people she was talking to. Yeah. Even though no one else could. And it was her brothers and her sister. And they were all just like there, you know, laughing and having fun. And it was like, I couldn't wait to get home and get sleep.
Yeah. I know when my grandfather was on hospice for a long time. I think it was over a year. And he, there was one day I had gone over after school to help take care of him. And he said, Henry's here. We're like, who's Henry? And he had dementia. So there was a lot of times when we're like, is he talking about something that is actually true? You know, like there was a lot of like guessing. But I remember feeling like, and I truly believe that sometimes these deathbed visions are also sent to bring the family comfort. Because after he passed away, we later found out that he was in the army with Henry, who was a friend of his, and he was killed in battle in World War II. And he had never spoken this man's name. Us grandkids had absolutely no idea. Really, my grandfather's life when he was in the military, our grandparents just never spoke about it. And so finding that information out was like kind of the coolest validation later on of like this is real, like, because I just remember when he was talking about him, and it was like one of those rough days of like, you know, dealing with a person with dementia. He didn't want to eat, he was spitting out his food. It's like, what do I do? You know, and then he starts talking about Henry, and I remember this like overwhelming sense of calm, almost like somebody giving you a hug. You know, and because I had left the room and I had allowed my grandmother to kind of take care of him. I mean, I was a teenager at the time. I wasn't sure, you know, how to handle it. So she went in there, she handled it. So I was in the hallway and I was like, oh my God, like what is that? You know, because we didn't talk about spirituality growing up. It wasn't talked about in our family. But years later, especially after getting into this work, like all of these memories kind of come back, and it's kind of like, oh, this happened because of this. You know, so with the deathbed visions, you know, I also believe that, yes, they come through to, you know, of course, to comfort the person who is going, you know, through this battle, through this experience, but it's also for the family, you know. I believe it is in a lot of cases. And this also, it happened months before he even passed away. So these, you know, deathbed visions don't have to happen like the hours or days leading up to a person passing. They can last for quite a long time too.
Right. So what I'm kind of getting, you know, I'm watching you and you're speaking, and the one thing that I get is he was so, it made his transition of being sick with your presence being there was almost like picture somebody seeing a flower grow like instantaneously. You know what I mean? That kind of joy, that made that transition for him. Every time he saw you when you would visit or whatnot, that was something where that put him at ease. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. But one thing I do have to say, I do agree with Ginger. Jay, your story was very fascinating, and my mouse stopped working, so I can't. There we go. She said that was a fascinating story. And I do have to agree with what you were sharing with us, because if you hadn't gone through everything you had gone through, you definitely wouldn't be in the place that you are right now.
No.
And some of the stuff that you've brought to the paranormal field, from your podcast to your projects, is just absolutely amazing. And I am glad that you're here with us doing what you're doing.
Well, and I appreciate that, and I thank you for that. And not everybody likes what I do, and but that's one of the reasons why I also have a small circle of friends.
Yeah, not everyone likes what we do, so
right.
Yeah, I
understand.
Yeah, so I keep my circle small for reasons. You know, I'm not, you know, big on this whole para community, para whatever. And it's just So there's people that I've talked to that just who don't have a clue. And it's sad. You know?
Yeah. No, that's why we just do what we do. And, you know, I have my moments where I like feel bad when someone makes a nasty comment, but Tiffany reins me back in and she's like, screw them.
Right.
What are they really going to do?
Right.
Yeah. So speaking of projects, I know you had mentioned, in addition to all of your podcasts and everything, that when I first talked to you about having you on the show, sorry, I had to schedule it months in advance, but I book months in advance usually. But you mentioned a project. Do you mind sharing with us what that is and how that?
So I have a fascination with Gettysburg. Okay. I have ancestral ties to Gettysburg.
Oh.
So, for some reason, I'm fascinated with it, but I have a longing to be there to tell people's story and to tell stories that weren't told. My project, which I'm moving to Kickstart, Kickstart? It's Kickstarter. It's called the Battle of Gettysburg, Whispers in the Wheat. and it's basically a documentary type thing where I'm going to hopefully be able to talk to people who, families or people connected with the Civil War or Gettysburg, in that sense of inspirational stories, or being able to connect with spirits on the battlefield, because I know that a lot of them are stuck in a loop and stuck and trapped, and that really bothers me intently. There's been several times where I've tried to plan trips there. I've actually had where I was actually looking at a Airbnb, which was kind of like a farmhouse that was connected to one of the Civil War or Gettysburg places. And as I'm reading and looking at the pictures on this, a young soldier came through my phone on this, because I was intently looking at this picture of this bedroom, and he's standing there and he's like, "Oh, you got to come here. It's great. You got." I run into that sometimes, but it was kind of really intense. And I was like, okay, that never transpired. Partly because I'm doing this project and I'm trying to, put it on Kickstarters. I'm trying to raise funds for the film project and the travel and the lodging and everything, because of the fact that I am not independently wealthy. If I was, I wouldn't have to do this. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have to put up a campaign and say, please help me,
Yeah.
So when I get that done, when I get that finished, because I just had somebody send me some really good video and pictures I'm going to make, like a promo video for that. And I have an interview person, a person about Gettysburg that's going to do their own individual interview. I'm going to have that on there as well. Kind of give people the perspective of what I'm going to do. Excuse me. And it's something that I feel I need to do. It just never felt like the right time, and I think it's coming to that time now where I need to do that. You know what I mean? And a lot of it has to do with spirits that are on the battlefield. I have this longing to be able to kind of like visit the battlefield and know the ones that are there, and somehow convince my guides for me to see them physically, so that I could stop them and say, stop.
Yep.
Just stop. And so, that's
right.
That's, it's emotional for me, just because of fact, and plus the fact that I had a captain, a second great uncle, who was a captain in the Confederacy. I also think I have some ties on the Union side as well. I don't remember, but I have to go back and look. But my military my military history of my family on both sides of my parent or my dad's parents go all the way back to the Revolutionary War.
Oh, wow.
So there's a long line of history. My daughter is a chief petty officer in the Navy. She's married to a master chief. She made me a grandpa already. Yeah.
Exactly.
So thank you. We have a long line of different military. I was never able to go to the military because of my views I've had and whatnot. But plenty of aunts and uncles that were in Vietnam and World War II, all the way back. So I just have this infinity for Gettysburg, and there's places around, even in Virginia and everything. Come to find out that a third of my ancestors back even before the 1800s, we owned a third of Virginia. My whole family.
Wow. Wow.
So my whole family that goes back, and my third great grandfather was friends with John Adams, new president, Washington. He was in politics.
Yeah.
And it's like I have nothing to do with politics, but just that aspect of that history It's fascinating. You know?
Do you feel like a strong connection to your ancestors?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I do too. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's some different ones that are just. I think I have a cat down here now. What?
Hear it?
Good Lord. He must have. Come here.
And my dog's down here snoring.
Yeah. Child guys right here.
Aw.
On his spot.
Was that your cat or my cat meowing?
Oh, he froze.
Oh, did he freeze? I thought he just stuck down looking for the cat.
Yeah.
Oh.
He did, but then his camera froze. Yeah.
No, I wrote down the time. Remind me to go back and listen to the video. I think we were in about 15 minutes and 25 seconds, and I swore I heard a woman's voice talking on his audio.
Okay, I thought I heard it the same thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So
yeah.
I wrote it
good.
down and I need to go.
Because I think you might even see me do like something like this.
Yep.
Too,
and it's not the first time it's happened. I had it happen with Bishop Long and Father Sean in the past as well. So whenever I hear something, I write it down just in case to go back to it.
Yeah, I need to start doing that. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so it wasn't just me. I was like, wait a minute.
No, it wasn't.
So, but yeah, his Gettysburg project sounds amazing.
That is really
because
cool.
I get the connection with Gettysburg. I mean, my family, we didn't do Disney World. We didn't do Florida, even though we ended up living in Florida. We did Gettysburg, Williamsburg, Savannah. We did all the Civil War sites, which is why
that is so cool.
The one book I have coming out this year is the Civil War book for Florida. But then I'm like drowning in book contracts. I gotta get these finished and get caught up, because I have the Texas ones that I'm working on right now. But then Schiffer also wants. It's basically we're pitting together. It's Civil War from north to south, and I'm taking like a battlefield. I'm taking a northern battlefield and a southern battlefield, talking about their history and how they're haunted, and then compare which one's more haunted.
Wow,
is what we're doing. So I have a lot of research for Gettysburg that he might need.
Yeah. Do you know if you have any family ties to Gettysburg?
No, I don't. As far as I know, my mom's side of the family came over in the 20s.
Okay.
Because they came over from Belgium. And then my dad's side, probably about the 20s or early 1900s.
Okay.
But I do know that we've done past life regressions with me, and that a past life of mine is from the Civil War.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, no. I thought you ducked under your table, and then all of a sudden we're like, is he coming back?
No, I when I was trying to corral him, I bumped my microphone, which shocked my system, and so it kicked me out. So yeah, I had to gather him and get him back upstairs. He doesn't like me being down here.
Yeah.
And, so he was not happy.
That's
He's a
why
cuddler.
This one has his own spot on my desk. Because he just won't let me work if it's not there. So
Mr. Finley is a cuddler, so when I'm not upstairs cuddling, watching TV with him, he gets upset.
Yes. They're very needy. Yeah.
I was gonna say that's okay. I threw out some shameless plugs, but but I do appreciate Ginger. Yeah. Was it the Haunted Nevada Ghost Towns, or was it the one on Vegas? Let me know which one. I'm curious to see which one you've read.
They're really fantastic. I have all this most of it. I think
that's another project that I want to eventually do once I get the Gettysburg one hopefully done. I want to be able to go to investigate the mobster scene in Vegas.
That would be fantastic. We should all go.
Yep, and I have
that would be.
Yep,
I want to go to the Flamingo, even though the Flamingo, the original, isn't there anymore.
Yeah,
there's still quite a bit of different things that are there.
Yep.
Apparently, I have family mob ties to Vegas that I found out about 5 years ago.
And I supposedly have some type of ties as well. My dad was confronted back in the 50s by the mob and asked him to be a runner. And my dad said no, because of his older brother had some type of ties somehow. Yeah. He came home and told my mom, he's like, yeah, I accepted. And my mom flipped out, and he was like, no, I'm just kidding. You know. Yeah, so that's a funny story.
There is some really interesting history in Vegas, let me tell you.
Yeah, and there's a lot of mob stories. And even after I wrote my Vegas book, a lot of things, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago, that I had written a story about a ghost that's believed to haunt Circus and had the name of who they believe he is and everything. And he died he went missing on the property. And then after the book published, when Lake Mead started draining or going lower and they're finding all these barrels, he was one of the bodies they found in the barrel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's crazy.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
And Anton, I will definitely let you know when I get to the Battle of Franklin. That is on my list. And Ginger said it was the Ghost Town book. And that was actually my first book and one of my favorite ones to write.
Yeah, and speaking of books, that's what I'm supposed to be working on here.
Me too.
It's like an autobiography. I could tell a story of my whole life. Oh, yeah, it's kind of like that. Yeah, I don't have enough stories to tell. I have plenty of stories to tell. You know, but yeah, being spiritual and being who I am, and I don't shy away from that. If people ask, I'm gonna, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. I don't shy away from it either, but I choose not to develop it or use it actively because I'm more of I want to know everything there is to know about a location before I get there type of person. And
yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that and use your abilities.
No. I have a buddy of mine. His name's Josh Hughes. He was just on a podcast with one of the bunnies. I can't remember her name, but he's kind of been like my camera guy when we were on a paranormal team years ago. And when he gets investigations going or something like that, I usually get like visions beforehand of certain places. I'm like, why am I thinking of that? And so I'll text him and be like, are you working on something? He's like, maybe. I'm like, okay. Are you working on an investigation? Maybe. Do you want to tell me where it is? He's like, absolutely not. And so he knows better than to tell me anything. I try to pry little things out of him, and he still won't. But
and I totally get it. It's just not something I mean, I just like the research aspect of it. So it's you know.
Yeah, I'm more of a I don't want to know type aspect of it. Even though, you know, as of late, I was telling somebody else this too on one of my other shows. I've been infatuated with ghost paranormal shows, and I used to watch it years ago, but I kind of got out of it years ago because it was just laughable, you know, and I just didn't really like it. But as of late, I've watched like probably 2 weeks worth of different shows, paranormal shows, that why am I watching this? And then I kind of look at it a little bit deeper, and I wanted to see if there were things that I could pick up just by watching TV shows. And there were things that I knew, and that later on that they would confirm. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I looked at it at a different angle, you know, and not only was it something that I could say, yeah, that's BS. And it was. You know what I mean? And it didn't match. And so I kind of been studying some of these shows. But it was just really weird. I mean, I get, you know, it's entertaining and this and that, but it's just I can remote view any location. And I don't do it willy-nilly, you know what I mean? But there's sometimes where I'll be watching a show and it's a location that's like crap, and then all of a sudden it's like, no, I'm not going there. I'm just thinking about it. I'm not going there, you know, because it's just yeah, it's kind of one of those things where I know what's there and I don't need to see what's there.
Right.
You know, I don't need to,
Yeah.
I don't need to bring my conscious anywhere. It's like, it's just a thought.
A question that's come up a few times, especially in my investigation group and a little bit recently too, is how do you, or I guess what I would like to do is talk about how do you separate true mediumship from potential mental illness? Because in this society, if you hear that somebody's hearing voices, they're having visions, and depending on how intense it is, you know, we're so quick to label, oh, there's schizophrenia going on. Something's going on. Now, obviously, mental illness is real, and it's a real thing. But how do you separate true mediumship from a person who is going through mental illness, or is there even a way to do that? And do we make mistakes?
Well, it goes back to when I say mediums know mediums.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you run into somebody and let's say it's Manny the Moneybags, and he's doing readings for people and he's totally just making stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Mediums know fakes. Mediums know what their intentions are. So there's that difference. So it's kind of like people can say, okay, well, this is what I feel, this is what I believe, and this is, you know, and if I was to run into that person and be like, it's something else going on with you. Mm-hmm. You know, there's something. Mm-hmm. If you can look at somebody and see that, you know, they say, well, I hear voices, I hear this, you know, all this other stuff. That is a very gray area. I mean, it's kind of hard to, for some people, it's really hard to kind of depict, which is what I had a girl that came to me once, and she was experiencing similar things, hearing voices, or, you know, seeing things, or whatever, you know. But on the other hand, when I found out she was heavily using alcohol, mm-hmm. and she was, you know, she was inebriated half the time, or she would experience mm-hmm. this or experience that. I can't physically be inebriated because of the fact that it takes away from my focus. You know, my mm-hmm. head needs to be clear. Mm-hmm. So I can't say that when I started out years ago and I was still drinking and I knew that I had gifts, but I was kind of playing them off. When I would drink and I would start giving people, not readings, but see things, I would get a massive migraine, a massive mm-hmm. headache. Until I stopped spewing what I was spewing, my headache wouldn't go away.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So there's so many different factors. If people say that it's mental illness or if it's you're actually gifts, usually most mediums, psychic mediums, trance mediums, anybody can usually tell where it's coming from. You know what I mean? They can sense that, to saying, okay, yeah, you're legit. There's other people that are doing it for financial reasons, and that doesn't necessarily have to be a mental illness. It just could be a person who wants to be greedy, you know. Right. As far as the mental illness aspect of it, excuse me. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not, you know, as I sit here with 2 PhDs, you know, and I'm just like trying to explain this to you, but I feel that the mental illness aspect, a lot of it, in my opinion, I think is created dare I say, I think it's created by society.
Mm-hmm.
The society influence and norms are not what they were 80 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
it's so much is different now. There's so many,
Mm-hmm.
but that's a rabbit hole that I can't go down because
we're not going
we're
down
not,
that rabbit hole.
No, because there's too many different factors in that.
Yeah, and it's a conversation that has come up a lot recently. And I recently, about a year ago, had an experience in a location, and I heard a disembodied voice, clear as day. And luckily, I had a team member with me who heard the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when I shared it with a person, the first thing they asked was, well, was there anybody else with you who heard it too? And luckily there was, but it got me thinking, like, they're asking this because they're trying to call me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to convince me that what I experienced, I didn't experience, and I'm completely nuts. So I think what you just said about society is 100% correct, in that we are so quick to jump to conclusions sometimes, and I'm going to go back to the very beginning of the episode here, we forget that we're all individual, and as an individual, we also all experience our reality individually. And I think it's so interesting that so many people forget that, and they're just so quick to try and disprove you simply because they never experienced it themselves. But what does that do to the person? Now I'm a pretty strong person, so I can literally say, well, screw you, and I'm done with you, and move on. But a lot of people are not like that. And I just think back to, when I had my first experience as a teenager, the reason why I'm doing this work now is because of that experience. But I couldn't tell anybody. I kept quiet because I knew family members would try and label me crazy and probably take me to some doctors.
Now, when you just said that, just that statement right there, picture this 1932. Exactly. What would have happened if your family member, your husband, your whoever, heard you talk like that in that sense? How fast would they have had you taken to the nearest mental asylum? Do you know what some of the different reasons for been taken back then, taken to the asylum for was?
PMS, migraine,
laziness.
It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean it was just like, it was boredom, laziness. I mean there were so many different things, and it's like nowadays things have changed to the point where there are the people out there that I'm like, that they're crazy, they're nuts, or we don't believe in mediums because they don't exist or whatever. We're skeptical. That's right. That's your right. That's your individual right to feel that way. But to intentionally tell somebody that they're crazy or that they're dumb or whatever, that's a negative intention that you need to realize that that's what you're spewing.
Right.
That negativity is, you're pushing that out there. The more that negative rhetoric or that hatred or whatever that is, that goes into the universe, that goes out and then it comes back. I mean, it's an endless cycle.
Yeah.
And my wife went to Kenya some years ago for her church, and she left the big city type thing, and and went there to Kenya, where they don't have anything, and they don't have like the cell phone type thing. They don't have this or that. And she said by the time that she was done there, she had a different view of what community was, a different view of what happiness was, or sadness, or grief, or all of that stuff. And when she come back here, it was almost like she walked into, dare I say, a junkyard, where everything was just messed up. So from people, remember that when they're out in the public, you're going to run into some nasty people, but that's just the way it is. But as long as you continue to be that light of good intention, and that you're going to, not to say that you're not going to have your moments of being angry and road rage or whatever, because that's the world we live in.
You'll see.
You know what I mean? So, but I mean, it's taking that extra step to sow good intentions instead. And that's why I tell everybody when they go to a location, haunted location.
Yeah.
You have to have your intentions have to be pure before you even walk into that building. And I've always told people, if you have anger, if you have something before, the day before, whatever, if you stop, kneel before that and say, thank you for allowing me to be in here to your home, to investigate this, to talk to you, just that, and give that respect out, that intention. Makes it easier for that barrier to come down a little bit more, where they might, want to engage in you. A lot of people don't realize that being a ghost hunter, being a paranormal investigator is not something where you just walk into the location and say, here I am. You're going to tell me what I want to know, and this and that, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. Flip the script. What if you were deceased and you had these people come in and doing this into your home? If you really put yourself in that frame of mind, what would you be like? I'd be like, get these bitches out of my house.
That's why so many new investigators are getting attacked nowadays, because normally nice spirits are getting pissed off.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We stopped doing it out of the goal of research and whatnot to showmanship.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's not what it was ever supposed to be about. It was supposed to be about finding out what was there, and the jump scares. I mean, those are dime a dozen. You're going to find those on YouTube everywhere. It's like,
and it's I was recently touched at a location about 4 months ago, and when I came back home and I told people, they're like, "Oh my God, what did you do?" Like,
nothing.
I stood up and I said,
carried on.
I looked behind me and I said, I feel like something touched me. And then I asked who touched me. I didn't go running. They were expecting me to go running,
right, right,
and scared,
right.
and like the productions that they see on TV, and that's all entertaining and it's funny, and that's great, but that's not what we do.
Nope.
Right.
We're there to actually gather evidence. We're there to prove a theory, hopefully.
Right.
We're there because we have this passion,
right,
and we want to prove that it is real, no matter what skeptics tell us. People are experiencing stuff, and I'm not going to go running from a location, because what does that prove? It proves them right.
Right. Right.
So,
right. I went to Waverly with a group of my group, and they went down the death chute. I didn't want to go down because I was like, I am not walking all the way down there and walking all the way back up.
That's the best feeling in the world, walking down that chute.
No, so I was like, no. I said, so me and one of the members, this older lady, we sat up there, and we both got touched at the same time.
That's awesome.
And I was like, and they didn't have any experience down there. The rest of the team that walked all the way to the bottom and walked all the way back didn't have anything. We were sitting up here going, I ain't stupid enough to be huffing and puffing up and down that thing. And then here we are, we get touched. And it was like, oh, did you get touched? She's like, yeah, I did. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I mean, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm going to run out. Now, if somebody were to physically grab me and shake the shit out of me, I'm going to be a little freaked out.
Well, I'm going to be throwing a few F-bombs and asking who the hell is that.
Right.
Next time you're there, next time you're in the chute, if you go back, walk about halfway down and just sit down and wait. You'll definitely not feel alone. you'll feel like people are huddling around you.
Oh,
I wonder why halfway down.
It was just weird. Something told me to stop walking, and I just sat down right there, and it felt like everyone else, unseen, kind of just sat around next to me. And we just kind of just sat there.
Wow.
Sat there in silence.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. And having said that, with that place, I drove 6 hours to it. I stayed in a haunted Airbnb farmhouse. I saw the lady when I walked in. Before I walked in, I was driving in the driveway, and I saw her spirit standing in the kitchen. And I'm like, oh, this place has got a spirit. Okay. And then walk in. I said my greetings and this and that, and then realized that we weren't a threat to her. So then she disappeared. And we're like, so yeah, so it's funny because there was a hot air balloon that was some people that were just flying overhead, and they were close enough to where one of the members or one of the people in the basket said, "Oh, you're staying at the haunted farmhouse?" I'm like,
wow.
Yeah, I guess we are, and it was so bizarre. But after
was the air balloon real, or was that? Was that?
Oh yeah, no, it was real. Yeah, it was real, but it was funny. But yeah, I mean, we were out. I was in Kentucky, so it was out in the boonies, and it was beautiful farmland. And we're saying that we saw some UFOs out there, and I was too tired to look. After walking through Waverly, and I was just like, I was in so much pain because the emotions and disappointment and all that stuff was just too much. And I just was really getting irritated because it was cool, but I just didn't want to be there. I could have just stayed at the Airbnb and been happy, So and that made me realize too, is I'm getting too old to be doing this.
Yeah. No, at Waverly, many times I had to go outside and take my shoes off and ground myself because it was heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty heavy there, but there were so many people still there, and too many different collective of energies there that were just didn't vibe with me. A lot of energies didn't vibe with me.
Yeah.
So the only place that I felt good was walking on the terrace.
Yes.
With all the open that to me,
so
I could have stayed there the whole time, walked up and down, talked to whoever, and I would have been happy. I just thought that was a beautiful area.
Yeah.
So what do you do to when you're in a location that can be heavy, intense? What do you do to, because we call it the paranormal hangover, and I thought it was a bunch of crap.
Oh yeah, no.
It's not. And I mean, with the first time I experienced it, I wasn't even doing I was more observing. I wasn't even actually doing an investigation, but I was there. But what do you do, if you do anything, to kind of help you get over it quicker, or to make it easier on yourself the days following an investigation? Because I
sleep,
and it's rough.
I sleep. I sleep. Yeah. I mean, I usually guard myself beforehand, but even that doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But usually it takes me 2 to 3 days to overcome that. And after about the third day, then I'm okay. Yeah. No matter what I do, I can go to a location and be not that active, but it's because of the fact that I put myself out there. I use my gifts or I use my energy, then it's,
I think Heather froze. She'll be back.
I did.
We can hear her. Okay, good.
Yeah, I froze. I don't know what's going on with my computer screen.
Yeah, it's just a picture, but we can hear you, so that's awesome.
Okay.
Oh gosh, I was gonna say something. I don't remember what it was. Well, let's
if you have any questions for me, I'm all.
If there's anybody in the comments, feel free to put your questions in. Going back to the Airbnb thing, it reminded me of an Airbnb we stayed at about 2 years ago, and this house was haunted. There's just no other way to explain it. It was, I mean, I walked in there and I was like, okay, we were literally only there to sleep, to finish our journey. That was it. We were there we got there late. We were there to sleep and then leave first thing in the morning. I was like, okay, I can handle this for, the night. I'm telling you, I went to sleep that night and I swear to God, I had a dream of whatever ghost was in that house.
Mm-hmm.
I have never experienced anything like that in my life. And I'm wondering why some spirit would choose to come to a person in their dreams like that. I mean, I wasn't living there. I was just staying the night. But it's always kind of bothered me. This happened like maybe almost 3 years ago at this point. It's always kind of bothered me because I think about it.
It depends on what and how open you were at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when you're in that, between that REM sleep, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, because throughout the day, if it was in the evening, and throughout the day, I mean, your defenses can be kind of breaking down a little bit, and you're tired and this and that. So your levels are going to lower, and it's going to be where you're going to be a little bit more open. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you kind of like even if you were to reground yourself or even kind of protect yourself spiritually and this and that, I try to do that a couple times a day. You know what I mean? I don't, I just because it's just, it makes sense to me. If I do it before the house, or I do it in the morning, and then I'll do it in the afternoon, or I do it, at night or whatever. Even before I do a podcast show, I do a protection and a guidance type thing. You know what I mean? So, usually, it's always interesting for me where I sleep. If I sleep in a foreign place, I'm expecting some cool stuff to happen. I'm like, okay, what dreams am I going to dream?
Oh, wow.
When I went to that farmhouse and I stayed there in Kentucky, because I was so wiped out from Waverly, I heard of elephants could have came in the bedroom and I wouldn't have even heard, because I was out.
Yeah.
Even if it was 4.5 or 5 hours, I was completely out. So there could have been a bunch of ghosts and their spirits in there having a party, and I wouldn't have heard it. You know what I mean? But because of the fact that my brain literally just shut off, and I don't remember dreaming nothing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it depends on where you're at physically and mentally. So if you're in a place that you know is haunted, and you're going to stay there, it's like an Airbnb. What is your intention going to be? What do you want to see happen? What do you want? You know what I mean? Because I've always asked, if I'm to see dreams, if there's something, give me a message or whatever, and it's happened a few times, and other times that it doesn't happen. It just whatever your intention is. There's been times where I've dreamt and not done anything, and this is also going to be in my book, because I have a couple of stories about that, where I have dreamt that I'm somebody else.
Oh, wow.
Okay. It's been a couple times that I've been a dead somebody else. And there's been times where I was on a farm. It was a white house. I can remember it like it was yesterday. The picket fence, the pictures, the barns, the red barns. I was running out of the back door. I was not me, but I was me. I had a wife beater shirt on and some old pants. I mean, and this looked like, when I looked, that there was a line of what I called G-men back in the day, lined up this white fence. And I came out with a snub-nosed gun, started trying to shoot them, and they all shot me. And only thing I could feel was pressure in the chest of where they shot me. And then I fell face forward, and then black, nothing else. And then I woke up later on.
Wow.
Come to find out, come to find out, about a year later, my friend Josh, who's my camera guy, said, "Hey, I'm working with this paranormal team. They're looking to buy this property, and I want you to see what you feel about it." And he sent me the picture, and it was that house.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. And I told him, I said, "Yeah, I know this house too well. I could tell you what the inside looks like." Have I ever done the research on who lived there? No. I've always wanted to, but I just never did.
Yeah.
And it's actually not far from my house. It's in Louisville, Illinois. So it's not, it's maybe a couple hour drive. But yeah, this happened. I remember. And so when I looked at the picture, the big tree was missing. The barns were still there, but there was a couple other trees that were small that were big. So I knew that it was a timepiece. So yeah, so those are some of the dreams that I have. So, yeah, I've got a really freaky one too, but I'll tell you that.
I can't wait to read the book. You'll have to
Yeah.
let us know. Send us a message. It's out.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
We have another question. Ginger
Yeah, I was
is
going to ask you if you got to that one or not, because I just got back in. I hate technology.
Yeah. Can you talk about retrocognition? That's a good one.
Retrocognition. I don't even really think I know what that means.
That is, how do I explain it? Hold on. I've heard of it a few times.
It's this parapsychology phenomenon of gaining knowledge about past events or past lives without normal sensory input.
Kind of like just what I just explained in my dream.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Also known as post-cognition. Yep.
Yeah. And that's when it says retrocognition. It sounded similar to what I was just talking about. So that it was like, what
So it's
quite is
the
that?
opposite of precognition.
Right. And I've had plenty of those. I've, like I said, I've had where I've been somebody else, and there's been many times where I've been myself, but I've been completely somebody else. You know what I mean? I look completely different, but I know inside that I'm me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that makes me wonder, because I've had several incidents and dreams similar to that, where I've dreamt that I was on a plantation in Virginia, and I was actually born in Virginia, and then dreams that I was on the battlefield in Gettysburg. So do you think that some of those dreams that you might have had related to retrocognition could be like almost like a past life coming through? And
I thought about that. I thought about that too. Like the story I just told about the farmhouse. I think that is a reference because of the fact that there's some later down the line I ran into what that was. You know what I mean? So I don't think that was necessarily a past life for me. The other one that I was going to briefly mention was of a murdered female in a pool. Now, I was me, but I was a female, and I was dead underwater, looking up at a guy from the 1950s standing at the edge of the pool, and he was a cop. And I knew he was a cop. And I seen the building behind. It was all made of wood. It was an old hotel, and it was back in Nevada. And you probably know the place. It's now been torn down, and now it's a bunch of houses. But it used to be an old, I think it was by Reno. And I never knew what that was. Come to find out, the guy that I was interviewing on one of my podcasts had spent time investigating that place and knew all about it and knew the history. And so when I told him this dream and I described this place, he said, "It sounds like this." And he sent me a picture, and it showed the pool, it showed the building, it showed the bushes behind the pool. But this was years later when the pool was empty and the place was dilapidated and the trees were overgrown and this and that.
Yep.
And so, I mean, I have that type of precognition, I should say. You know what I mean? Where I'm somebody else. You know what I mean? But it's not. It's not a past life that I think that I have.
Right.
You're just picking up on information.
On information of there's a reason, and it's funny because of the fact that because of that dream, I was having an interview with this guy, and he had ties to this place. I pick up other people's information sometimes. Like if I, this has been weird too. If I go to like, sometimes I'll go to like Goodwill, I'll pick up like a t-shirt or I'll pick up a sweatshirt or something or a pair of pants or whatever. Now there was these really cool pair of pants that I bought there that were like really retro, and they were dress bands and they were gray and they were really cool. I wore those one day. That night I went to sleep and I had a dream of being in the presence of mobsters in Florida. And I was like, how does that happen? You know? So, and this was back in the 1940s and 50s. I could picture the hotel. I could picture the ocean. I could picture who came in, who I talked to. I was me, but somebody else. Right. But I was not. It wasn't a past life. So yeah, clothes do it to me. Depending, I could shake somebody's hand, you know, and get some type of information. And sleeping in different places, I can get information. It's just really weird.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting though. I always, when I go to Goodwill, I'm like, what am I going to get today? You know, because there's been times where I've picked up some things that I don't understand. You know what I mean? That when I dream that night, I don't understand. And it's not random. There was substance to it. You know what I mean? We've all had random dreams that don't mean anything and are just like crazy, stupid things like you eating an Oreo on a battleship or something stupid. You know what I mean?
I had that dream. No.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just like, and it's just, there's so many different layers to it. It's like, what is this? And that's exactly what it is. It's just your brain downloading excess of your subconscious. You know, it's like, we got to throw this out, and it all gets mashed into one, and then you start dreaming about it. It's like, wow, you know. So I just think that there's so many different things layers that I experience on a daily basis that I'll wake up from a nap and I'll think of, and I'll have visions of Tombstone or San Francisco out of nowhere. There was a place where I used to work. I could walk at this one spot in this warehouse. Every time that I would walk there, I would think of old time San Francisco.
I'm from San Francisco.
Yeah.
Really?
That's my city. Yeah, I was born there.
See, and it was just really weird. There was just something there, and it had something to do with the Old West. I saw a saloon. I saw San Francisco, and it was just in that spot that I would stand and do picking for my order that I was working on. And
that was your own personal portal.
There. Yeah, there's
it was every time, every single time that I would think of that saloon. So it was almost like I had a vision of walking through a saloon. That to me would be some type of past life. I've been told that I've been in the Old West, and then I like the Old West. So yeah, I went to Tombstone a couple years ago, and that was something else too.
I need to go back.
I went. I stood on the outside of the Oriental.
Yeah.
And I leaned up against the post, and it was almost like everything went back in time. And I stood there. It was like I was watching down the street with horses and this and that and that, and it felt like I was meant to be there. I felt comfortable. I felt I was home into some aspect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I had dreams about that place too, years before. And never been there until that time. So it's cool. I mean, if I put all these things in a book, I mean, it would be a really good read.
Yeah. Yes, it would.
This is an interesting question. It's two parts, so I'm going to put the first part up first. This is a weird question, but knowing what we know about time, according to Einstein, we live in a black universe, so all events occur at once. Do you think people from the past, if you will, get a sense that you have tuned into them?
Ooh.
People from the past.
Yeah. Do they know you're watching them or connecting with them?
No. No, I think it's been kind of ordained that way. There was a reason why I was that girl in that pool. I think it was more or less that she wanted me to experience that, you know what I mean, to see to share that, you know, because she was murdered is what it was. I didn't have the wherewithal really because of the fact that that place was going to be torn down, and I didn't live in Nevada, you know, I don't. So I get that every once in a while, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the brightest light gets a little bit more attention than other lights, or it's almost like trying to pay attention to somebody walking down the New York street, and you're trying to flag down one person that's going to pay attention to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it just, you know what I mean? And you're trying to get that one person, and I think it's random sometimes. And I think and part of it too was the fact that I had a connection with this guy that I was interviewing, and he had ties to that. So it all kind of connects. I think that there are certain things, if they're watching, I'm not sure. And it's like I said, I think it's a luck of the draw. I think it's whoever has the connection, you know what I mean, or the brightest light, so to speak, that they kind of reach out. You know, I've had people that reach out to me, you know, Spirit has reached out to me as far as Gettysburg. You know, I can't do anything about it. I'm not independently wealthy. I can't just pick up and go, or I would love to. And this is part of why I'm trying to raise money to do that with Gettysburg. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, I think that there's reasons why I should be there, reasons why I should be able to help certain spirits and tell people stories. And I do believe that there are some of these heartwarming and tragic stories that there's some of these tragic stories. There's an outcome that will inspire somebody. And that's the way I look at it.
Right.
It's not just it's not an open and end story. You know what I mean? Exactly. It's a continuation of what the ramifications of this story being told to somebody and to somebody else who may be related or something down the line. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I think it's really important that we don't forget stories. We don't forget people's names. I've always felt very strongly about that. I think a lot of times these spirits who are still earthbound just need their story told. You know, like with Gettysburg, they died so tragically and so quickly. It's like, well, wait a minute, you know, I wasn't done. Nobody knows who I was. You know, I accomplished this, and I have nothing to show for it, you know? And so I think a lot of times just by telling a person's story, a spirit story, like just think about how much that could actually help that spirit.
Right.
You know, and just
and they can transcend that.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, and a lot of it too is what people don't realize is that war was terrible and this and that, but what about the guy that left his family, who knew that he was, you know, how long ever he was going to be gone to fight a battle, but he knew that he had a family to take care of, and he had a farm to take care of, and he had this to take care of, and that's what a lot of it, when they die like that, it's almost like you get shot, you die, and then you want to get up and you want to run the opposite way, but you're stuck and you can't.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and that's one of the biggest fears for a lot of people who are afraid to die, because they don't want to leave something unfinished. And I kind of feel that way myself. You know what I mean? I'm not ready to go. I mean, I think that's kind of an underlining thing. You know what I mean? We're not done. You know, we don't know when we're done. You know what I mean? But there's still, there's always, and as my mom would say, there's always going to be something that's unfinished. So
Yeah.
you can't focus on that, you know?
Yeah.
And
That's so true.
Yeah.
it's very true, you know? But if the other person can finish it, or if your family member can do it or whatever, it's just, yeah, it's a weird feeling to think of these guys that lost their lives at like Gettysburg so quickly that they just weren't aware. You know, they didn't know. They knew the risk, but did they? Did they think that they were just gonna go there and win the war and come back home?
Yeah.
Or was that what they were told? This is gonna be easy picking. You're gonna do this and this. You'll be home by dinner time. You know, type thing. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
And I think that's what they were told, because I mean, if you look at like Bull Run and a few of the other battles where people would go out and picnic and watch, thinking it was going to be a simple battle.
Yep. Yeah. I remember that, watching that. If you've seen The Gray House.
Yep. Yeah, we were just recently watching that one, but that was also in North and
I
South.
love that movie. Yeah, I love that movie because that was just the truth to that. I researched her a little bit, and it was just like, wow. I mean, I was like truly moved.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
So, real quick, bouncing back to when you had your dream of the woman in the pool. Okay. Have you ever had a spirit reach out to you to try to have you help them figure out what happened to them?
That one. Kind of, but not in so many words.
Right.
It was more of a knowing, but basically kind of told her that I don't have the means to do that, you know, and then it was quickly gave up on.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's not like they keep knocking at your door. I know you can hear me. I know you're in there. You know, it's nothing like that.
So it's not like the TV show Ghosts. Where
no. I haven't. There's been a couple that I know of that the one girl, every time I would go to the hotel that was haunted that I would do my show, she would basically accost me outside the hotel on the street when I would get out of my car.
Oh, wow.
And spirit would say, no, he's not here to do that right now. He's doing this. And then she would break it. Because not that I don't have bodyguards, but I have spiritual bodyguards, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, back up. He's not, you know, he's not taking any questions right now, you know, that type of thing. Until the time when it came when she did, and I got her story, and I'm like, and it was a bad one. And there was another gentleman there that in the location, and he's not very nice. And so I know who he is. I don't say his name out of respect. I've talked to him and said, okay, you keep in your lane, I'll keep in my lane. And I know why he doesn't want to leave, and it's not my story to tell until something comes out that it needs to be. You know what I mean?
And I think that is so
with her, I cast a light in the yard and say, that's where you need to go. Let it go. Because she was so pissed, and so eventually after that, I'm sure she crossed, but you know.
What you said there is, I hope that this episode, and particularly people stick around to really hear what you just said. It's not your story to tell. You're not, and we're not going out to make a spectacle of these souls. Right.
You know, if that person comes to me and says, please tell my story, you know what I mean? Or I will ask for permission. Can I tell your story? Is there something you want me to say? I mean, that's not just an intentional out of respect thing. I mean, and then there's other people that just think that they can willy-nilly tell whatever story they want to tell. And that's when spirits get kind of mad, and they get, you know, poltergeist-like, and get, you know, because down the years, or, you know, there's been so many misinformed people of the battles in Gettysburg and even the Civil War of, you know, because especially when, you know, paranormal people get in the field and they talk about this, and they're stories that aren't true. They're just handed down from rumors of this, that, and the other thing, and then they take a life of their own. It's like a snowball running down from an avalanche. You know what I mean? It gets bigger and bigger until it gets to the point where it's unrecognizable, and people are like, "Where did that come from?" You know?
Yeah, I learned that researching my pirate book for Florida. The whole story about Jose Gaspar. He never existed. In my research, I could find no documentation that this man ever existed. And it turns out that a hotel wanted to bring visitors to the hotel. So it shared a story of a pirate who died and haunted there now. And now Tampa every year celebrates the Gasparilla Festival in honor of this man that didn't exist. Because of that one story in the 20s that a hotel did for publicity.
That's just crazy.
All these people won't research. They won't for themselves. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and that's sort of thing too, is the fact that, and I tell people this too, and speaking of, telling the truth, and I'm like mediumship is, I am not a sideshow. I don't perform on command. When people say, "Oh, what are you getting?" It's like, okay, nothing.
Yeah.
Because unless spirit or somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, I want to show you this, or I want you to hear this," I will always say, "I'm getting something that needs to be said if I get led to do this." And I would have people say, "Well, what are you getting? What are your medium?" And it's like, it doesn't work that way. No. And I tell people this too. If I don't see it, I don't say it.
Yeah, that's so
and important. If I don't hear it, I don't say it.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, you're not that good then." It's like, it's not about being good. It's about trusting your instincts and trusting your intuition, trusting your spirit guides to say, "Okay, there's somebody coming through." And I was always afraid of that. I was always afraid of, am I ever going to get, when people say, "Well, how do you do it?" It's like, if I get led to do something spiritually, that's what comes through. I'm not going to make something up just because you say that, I call myself a medium, or I am this or that, or you think I am. If I have no information, there's nothing I can give you.
Yeah.
And I've done that in readings too, when I've, people that I've taken money from, I give them what I got. If I see it, if I don't see it, I can't make it up. And there's some times where I will give people only what I get.
Well, and just like you don't perform on command, neither do the spirits. So how, I mean,
right.
Might not want to be known, so that's why they're not coming forward.
Right. Someone comes up to me and says, "Oh, what do you see? Do you see my dead so-and-so?" And da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, number one, I wasn't even on that page to look at it. I didn't turn that page because nobody told me to, or whatnot. And I don't like getting blindsided. That just drives me nuts. I did an interview once. Yeah. I did an interview once where it was a live. It wasn't live, but it was in-person interview. And one of the camera guys, "Well, are you getting anything?" And I'm like, and I was frustrated, but Spirit came to me and said, there is a girl here who's talking about a car ride that she used to take, but it could be for anybody in the room. And I relayed this memory, but nobody would cop to it. So I said, that's all I got. And at the end, he was like, wanted me to talk to the other guy, and says, he wants you, there's a message. And there wasn't really a message, because the spirit that was with him has been with him for a long time, and there isn't anything that I could tell him that he already doesn't know. And it's like, okay, people don't understand how this works.
Yeah.
Just make up stuff just to feed your oh my God, that was so awesome aspect. It doesn't work that way.
No. And then on the flip side, they don't leave you alone at certain times when you need to be left alone.
I went through that. I went through a period of that too, where I got messages on messages where people wanted to. I was their medium on demand, and I had to put. I had to put a stop. Yeah, I had to put a stop to that. I'm like, okay, you guys, I can't do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I have to be true to myself. I can't make stuff up. I mean, I'm not like that.
Yeah. I have a question for you. Do you think people are actually afraid of the paranormal, or do you think they're actually afraid of what might be revealed about themselves?
A little of both, but I think the more of it is, are you talking about paranormal people that are into the paranormal?
Just society in general, people who are afraid of the paranormal.
People who are afraid of the paranormal are people who are not familiar mostly with the paranormal. So most people are afraid of something they don't understand.
Right.
So that's probably the main aspect of it. There are people that have experienced childhood trauma that associate that with the paranormal, so that they're afraid that they don't want to have anything to do with it. The other people that are afraid of the paranormal are people who are listening to everybody else why they're afraid of the paranormal, so that they want to jump in the same group and say, I'm afraid too. And then there's people who aren't afraid, but don't know they probably should be afraid because of the fact that what they're going into without the proper tools to go into to investigate can cause you harm, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that it's kind of a trifold type thing where there's so many different things that you can attribute to why you should be and why you shouldn't be. People who aren't afraid of the paranormal, I can't say that I'm not afraid. I mean, there's certain things that I'm fearful of. I'm still afraid to walk down an old staircase in the dark, and then I instantly run back up because I don't want something behind me. That's an old childhood thing trauma that I went through when I was little. People still do that. It's just it's embedded in your brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are things that I'm afraid of too. I'm not going to say that I'm not, but there are things that I try to stay away from or whatnot.
Okay. Any other questions, Tiffany? We have about 10 minutes left.
No.
I know I ran through all my questions.
Holy crap, we did do 2 hours.
We did. See, it goes by fast on our show.
No, and this has been really fun. I mean, this has been
awesome.
I could talk to you guys forever. I mean, this is,
Mm-hmm. Well, I know I definitely want to have you back on the show to get an update on what's happening with Gettysburg and
yeah. Once I get that campaign up, I will send you the link and then you can share.
Okay, definitely, because I do have a section on our Facebook page where we have an album that has all of our past guests with information on how to get a hold of them, what projects they're working on, and so on. And we'll make sure we get all that added for you. And definitely want to rebook you for later this year or early next year.
And we need the link for it's the name of it is your for your book, your fundraiser for your book.
Yeah. When I get it done, I will.
Yeah.
What's the name of it? It's slipping my mind right now.
I can't say that. I can't say the name of it yet.
No,
the campaign for my documentary.
Yeah.
That's the Battle of Gettysburg. Right. Whispers in the Weeds.
Yep. Yes. I have it written down, so I'll make sure I get that
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And your Kickstarter. That's the one I was thinking.
That's what it was. That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When I get my book done, or when I get my book completed, which I'm lagging on, but I get different ideas every day. But
That's my problem.
We get it.
I have
when I get it done, yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to share before we start winding down for the night?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me. This has been a blast.
No, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, definitely. And I will reach out so we can get you rebooked. Definitely want to have you on again. Like, like we said at the beginning, 2 hours goes by fast.
And it did. I mean, except for my little incident with my cat. I kicked him back upstairs, so he knew where I was. He was searching for me. That's why he was whining.
Yeah.
Okay, so perfect. So just a few quick things before we shut down. As always, you guys can follow us on Facebook at Ghost Education 101. That is where we have all of our information up, upcoming shows, and where we air live every week on Wednesday. Don't forget to subscribe. I can't talk tonight. Oh my God, I gotta go to bed. Subscribe and watch the replay on YouTube, also at Ghost Education 101. We also have shorts up there as well that I'm starting to post, and I'm reposting all of our videos to make sure they stay, so you can catch the replays there. I'm going to skip the website this week because we are still working on that. But join us March 22nd for our paranormal recap and Sunday chit chat show. I don't know if Tiffany has any topics, but I have two amazing topics. The first one came from a comment we had on one of our posts recently. We're going to discuss the difference between secular and non-secular PhDs and why they are important to keep them separate, but why both are equally important in research. And then I also want to discuss the Fox sisters and the birth of spiritualism, only because I hold that near and dear to my heart because it happened on my birthday, March 31st. So I always find a connection in my life to that as well. And then next week on Wednesday, Kenneth Holden is returning. He was part of our psychic panel, but he is returning next week for a one-on-one chat with him to see what's going on. Again, thank you, Jay, for joining us. Looking forward to seeing how your projects come about, and also look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Yes, thank you so much. Nice meeting both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, guys.
Everyone, have a great night, and we'll see you Sunday.